you could make us happy. At Q3, you had only started 8,000 of the 18 to 19,000 homes you need to deliver under the 21-26 affordable housing programme. This leaves you with more than half the starts to deliver in the final 3 months. Do you think this is acceptable?
Good morning, and thanks for your good mood. It's going to be a challenge, but the member will be aware he's been assiduous, rightly so, in raising this issue over the last 10 years. That we, every year, and by the way, this happened before I became mayor as well, I think the phrase used by my deputy is the hockey stick effect, where the first 3 quarters aren't as high as we'd like them to be, and there's huge progress made in Q4 for a variety of reasons which we can talk about. So he's right, Q4 would have to break some records for us to reach the target we've been set. We're working incredibly hard with developers, with councils and so forth to get over the line. The piece of good news is the government's given additional flexibilities in terms of grants and loans. So if a site is stalled, we can unlock the site. So I'm hopeful that we'll manage to make progress this Q4 like we have in previous Q4s. And if you'll remember the final point, I know time is short. In previous years, we've been incredibly nervous at this stage, and developers and councils have come through in Q4, and we're hopeful they'll do so this year as well.
What will you do to make the delivery less lumpy? You told the Budget and Performance Committee you wanted delivery to be less lumpy. What can change to deliver those homes? Because this is a very steep hill to climb. This hockey stick's going to have to be an extreme curve.
Yeah, really good point. So I discussed yesterday at the Budget and Performance Committee the need to remove the lumpiness, a word he used that I quite like. And so going forward, what the government's given us is a number of additional powers to avoid that happening. So we'll be having powers, what's called MDOs, Mineral Development Orders, additional powers to call in. The Building Safety Regulator has agreed to speed up decisions. He'll be aware that 96% of new homes in London are flats, which is, bear in mind, if you have more than 6 stories, second staircase, the challenge is there. The real change is going to be, I think, which will make a difference here, is the ability for us to have a City Hall Development Investment Fund, the £2 billion worth of grants/loans. He'll be aware that often, for example, a developer will come in with a scheme that's viable. They'll apply for the green light from the Building Safety Regulator. That will take a long time. The scheme becomes no longer viable. That site becomes stalled. So the allocation of grants and loans, in addition to speeding up with the BSR, means we're hoping we'll have the lumpiness in Q4 panic in terms of moving things around to make schemes start. And the other point to say, which I know he's raised a number of times in the past, is the first grant we had from the government in 2016 was just on starts. And that builds in a perverse incentive to start a development and not worry about a home and not worry about completing it. We've gone back to the government and said, listen, it doesn't really work for families who need housing desperately. And so we've also built into this an incentive. If you as a developer say you can complete by 29-30, we'll fast track and give you concessions in a number of areas. But also some of the monies you don't receive until you complete as well. So 2 other incentives to get people going, developers going.
In the 26-36 programme, you don't have a cap on acquisitions. And unlike the current programme, it could be a temptation to just sort of try to buy your way out of this problem, which of course doesn't actually add to the overall housing stock. What cap do you think you might impose on yourself?
Yeah, very good point again. So he'll be aware that the Council Housing Acquisition Programme has 2 different caps. One is 10%, one is 30%, whether it's a new build or an old build. I think one of the reasons at the moment for no cap is because there are quite a few private developers who may want to switch to affordable housing because of the market. The market's not as good as it could be. And so if you're a developer and you can't sell on the private market, it may make sense to you to switch that property to council or social housing. And so that switching, some use the word flipping, is quite useful because you want families living in those homes rather than them sitting empty. So we are speaking to MHCLG and the sector to see what works. The challenge is because the grant is over 10 years, you wouldn't want rigidity over 10 years because the market may change in a year's time, 2 years' time. So we are speaking to experts, and his expertise is also valued in terms of what is the right time to put that cap in. Do we want a cap for the entire 10 years, or do we want some fluidity, bearing in mind the peaks and flows in terms of the housing market over a 10-year cycle?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Assembly Member Clark.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. How does your budget support Londoners who are struggling with the cost of living?
Thanks for the question. It's really important for us to recognise that we're still in the cost of living crisis. we can't pretend or wish it away. So the budget has a number of things to address the issue head-on and support Londoners. Of course, there's work we're doing to encourage more Londoners to be living wage employers, six-fold increase. The living wage used to be less than £10 when I was mayor. It's now just shy of £15, which is very important. More good work standard employers, really important as well. The tangible things in the budget is every family with one child in a primary school is saving £500 per child because of our universal free school meals. You imagine if you've got 2-3 kids in the course of a year, that's £1,500, £2,000. The London Growth Plan is supporting employers to skill up their employees to get better skilled, better paid jobs within their place of work, and also supporting employers to create more jobs, really important. Also part of our inclusive talent strategy to skill up 150,000 jobs over the next few years. Homes built in London, if they're council or social housing, it means they're affordable for Londoners, really important. By the way, the Renters' Rights Act will make a big difference as well in stabilising rents in London. Yesterday, I remember Bassam Mahfouz raised the issue of income maximisation. We're going to give recurring funding to advice centres and others to make sure they can support Londoners who are entitled to benefits and may not realise it, to get the benefits they're entitled to going forward. So far, we've managed to secure £94 million of additional support to families who otherwise wouldn't receive it. Another example of support in the cost of living crisis is for the 7th year we've frozen bus fares up until July. Fares in buses and trams are frozen, which is incredibly important. So those are some of the examples of the things we're doing to support Londoners during this cost of living crisis.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think it's really important you point out the savings per child of having those free school meals. In addition to that, you know, having that benefits cap lifted from government makes a massive difference to those families across London. And I know you've campaigned for it. I know the Labour group on the Assembly have campaigned to have that lifted, and we're very proud of that. And so families in London with more than 2 children are really benefiting from a Labour mayor and a Labour government. But how will your budget support Londoners who need skills training to support their ambitions?
I mean, linked with skills and supporting families is also the childcare changes the government's brought in. You know, increasing the hours you're eligible for free childcare is really important. I've met parents who work in City Hall. It just completely transformed their ability to come to work, knowing they've got that additional childcare, and also means more money in the household income as well. But skills is really important. So I mentioned the London Growth Plan and our keenness to work with employers and businesses to have their businesses grow, for them to flourish and thrive. One of the things we've got to do is make sure we skill up Londoners to get the jobs created in London so they don't miss out. That'll lead to a sense of unfairness. The jobs are being created and they're not seeing the benefits. So the 3 big things we're doing is an inclusive talent strategy. We've set aside £147 million to invest in training up Londoners for the skills being created. We want inclusive growth. The second thing is the adult education budget. We're working with the government in terms, not just in terms of how we spend that money, but also DWP trailblazers to get people who into skill camps and so forth to get back into work. And the third big area, which I referred to in my opening, is, look, I think artificial intelligence will change London in ways we can't yet imagine. I'm told that half of the jobs in London will have some form of AI this year impacting their work. By 2030, 70% of jobs will be impacted. We've got to be ready for that. So the 3 big things we're doing is, one is setting up a task force to look at the future of work in London, bearing in mind AI. 2 is to provide free training for Londoners in AI. And the third thing, as I announced earlier, £20 million to carry out the recommendations that any task force may make, because we've got to make sure Londoners aren't done out of a job because of AI without the support to make the transition to a well-paid job they could get.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Assembly Member Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pick up